Hi Praveen, thank you so much for your time on Blitz Business. It's pleasure to have you.
Hi, Ashish. Yeah. In fact, it's a pleasure for me as well to be here with you. Looking forward.
Awesome. Let's get started. Let's please tell us a little bit about yourself first before we deep dive into business and all that serious stuff.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, let me start my journey right from, my school days. So I've been born and brought up in a steel township called Bokaro Steel City. So that meant that I had a very multicultural childhood because it was a steel plant, and people from all across and all parts of life were part of that whole steel plant. And therefore what it meant was that as children we were exposed to a lot of people. It was very cosmopolitan in nature back in those days as well, and a very rich exposure to different cultures because people from all parts of the country came to work there. So I had a very good exposure about different cultures and different people coming from different stratas. So that's where I spent my childhood, and then did my graduation in economics from Delhi University, and then went to Bombay to do my MBA from Mumbai University, and then started my career. And I worked across the country, right from Bombay, Delhi, Kolkata, interior parts of Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, UP. So it has been quite a
Which
quite a,
which city have you left?
not really. No. South was something which I hadn't seen
About?
much of. But last 7 years I've been here in Hyderabad, so that completes the full zonal, let's say, circle for me. So that's been quite a enriching, experience to have been exposed to so many things, so many cultures, so many rituals, so many facets of India. Has been really enriching that ways. So that's a little bit about me. If you want to know a little anything more
Any
in detail, please feel free to ask.
the city which you had the best time in?
That's a tough one because I so the top of mind answer would be my hometown, which is Bokaro Steel City, because generally childhood memories are the best. So you tend to say that, but otherwise. Every city I've had a lot of enjoyment because every city is different, and India is such a diverse country that every 200 kilometers you travel, the culture changes, the food changes, everything changes. So it's been quite exciting because Bombay, in a way, it has its own excitement. Delhi has its own excitement. Kolkata has its own excitement. So is Hyderabad. So yeah, so all of them have been pretty enjoyable. But yeah, nothing to beat the childhood memories. So that takes the top spot.
Well, that was a good answer. I cannot. I thought you will give two, three cities, but like, yeah, that's a. So then, how did you sort of begin your corporate journey?
So I was campus recruited into a company called Balsara Home Products Limited, makers of brands like Odonil, Odomos, Babu toothpaste, Promise toothpaste. So, and as part of our training program, we were put into rural markets, and that is how I started my corporate journey. Selling products outlet to outlet. Pretty tough grind, but an enriching one and a learning one. Back in those days, after when I started working, that was kind of a reality check because after doing my MBA, I didn't think that when we were doing our MBAs, what we had in mind was a white collar job, sitting at good nice AC offices is what one had the perception about. But this was completely different here, toiling in the sun, rain, and the winters, going from outlet to outlet, selling products. Quite a humbling experience, so as to say.
Must be
But
very tough.
yeah, very tough, very tough, very tough. And that those days, a lot of times I really thought of changing tracks and all that. But somehow I happened to meet good people, and they advised me to stick on. And they at that point of time had advised me that this will help you a lot in the long run. And So they did. So that was pretty good learning experience, although a very very tough one. Yeah, there were days when we couldn't find even food because we were doing rural markets back in, and this is I'm talking 25 years ago. So you can
Okay.
imagine the state of the economy. Also, there were no taxis to travel in. We used to travel in crowded buses
Oh,
and shared taxis. Uber, Ola, nothing. Even taxis were very, because taxis would only operate in large towns. Yeah. So suppose you have to go from town A to town B, that to a small town in rural market, you only had either state buses or shared, those private buses, which are very very. When I come to think of it today, I think I really wonder myself that how did I manage to sail through all of that. But yeah, those were tough learning experience because it makes you very very tough and resilient in terms of your approach and outlook. So yeah, interesting, very interesting days. So that's how I started my corporate journey. Then that was sales stint, as it happens in most of the FMCG company, that as management trainee you are put through for 5 years of sales stint, and then I moved to marketing, and since then lot of number of years in marketing, and then I moved companies from Balsara. I moved to Dabur, and then I stayed in Dabur for next 17 years in various capacities. Started from brand manager, handling certain brands, and then kept getting promoted, and then kept handling different brands, categories, verticals. So that was my journey at Dabur. Again, a great learning experience because a lot of categories that I worked, almost all categories in Dabur I happened to work in, because 17 years is a long period. So I worked with a lot of categories. So that was again a very very enriching experience. And then 2017 I came to Continental Coffee, and last 7 years again has been a really really tough grinding, but a very very enriching experience again, because here everything was very different. Dabur was a very big company, large company with set processes and systems, and here you came to a company which was just evolving as a professional company, being run by a close set of people for many many years. So to kind of transform that, create a B2C vertical out of that. So again, very very has been a very very good experience for last 7. So that's been, in short, my professional journey.
very, very illustrious. So let's deep dive into now CCL. So what does CCL do? Help us understand that.
Okay. So CCL, basically we are a coffee making company. Yeah? When I say coffee, it is largely instant coffee. Yeah, instant coffee, the coffee which you. The reason why we say instant is that there are two ways coffee could be made. One way is that you brew the coffee. So brewing coffee, as it happens in either in cafes or a lot of homes, also you will see that the coffee gets brewed. So it is the decoction is made out of roast and ground coffee. Yeah. So the decoction is made, and then you drink that decoction in the way you like it. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is to from that brew you create instant coffee. So instant coffee is something which just dissolves in the cup, yeah, whether it is with hot water or milk. So that's the business that we are in. We manufacture instant coffee and sell it to clients across the globe. So if you see the coffee market globally, there are large players who have their own manufacturing capacity, but there are a lot of players who are looking to buy coffee from third party manufacturers like us. And here we step in and we kind of make coffee for them and supply coffee to them as bulk coffee or private labeled coffee. So that's been our private our primary business, and we have been into that business for last 25 30 years now. And 7
Where
years
is
ago, yeah, sorry.
where is your plantation?
We don't have plantations, so we buy coffee from across the globe. So it depends on clients who want what type of coffee you want. So suppose, let's say Ashish wants a coffee, an instant coffee, which is supposed to be made from, let's say, Brazilian beans. So what we will do is we will go and buy beans from Brazil and process it in our factories and supply you the instant coffee. So that's our business model. So we buy from various parts of the globe: Brazil, Uganda, Vietnam, Indonesia, India. So anywhere and wherever we get coffee from, and a large part of it is dependent on what is the final output you want. Yeah, because every origin, every coffee will have its own nuance. So an Indian coffee will taste different from a Vietnamese, will taste different from a Brazilian to a Colombian. So depends on who wants what, and depending on their needs, we make coffee. Yeah. So if Ashish wants a type of coffee, I'll give it to you from that source. If somebody else wants some other coffee, I will give it from other source. If Aditya wants some other coffee, so it depends on what is the final client requirement. Basis that we buy coffee. So we don't have.
Can you package in the brand's name for with
Yeah, we will pack it in the brand's name. Or suppose sometimes the client may say that I have my own packing facility. Give it to me in bulk packs. So we give them in bulk, big bulk packs. We send the coffee to them, and they would pack it internally. Yeah. So
understood?
that's been our model. And 7 years ago, we started to dabble with this thought that why shouldn't we help so many brands grow? Why not have our own brand? And
Correct.
that's when we launched our own brand in India. And there's been now there are two verticals to our business. One is the B2B vertical, and the one is the B2C vertical.
And what's the brand called? It's with the same
It's
name
called
or
Continental. So we have got different segments. So for example, I was telling you our instant coffee is called Continental Extra, Continental Special. We also have roast and ground coffee, which is popularly known as filter coffee in India. So we have got Continental Malgudi, and we also have premix coffee, wherein you don't have to do anything, just mix hot water and your coffee is ready. That's called Continental This. So this is cappuccino, this is creamy coffee, this is mocha. That's how the brand architecture.
it must be quite a challenge to establish B2 from B2B to B2C. It's a different ball game altogether, distributor or whatever. I don't know how the
Yeah, yeah.
marketing, sales.
Yeah, everything is different, absolutely different. The whole DNA is different because you need a different set of DNA to do a B2B, and a whole different because in B2B you get the order and you manufacture. Yeah.
Correct.
In B2C, you manufacture and then you get the order. So that's the, let's say, the layman's difference between though. And as I have put it, you can understand it's completely different. It's very different. So we had to set up a completely different value chain. As you rightly mentioned, we had to set up completely different distributor network, brand building, a very completely different way of doing things, logistics. So all that was set up, and we started slowly, but in good time, we have built a sizable business. So that's been a great run for us.
And which sort of coffee beans you use in your product?
So in India, we use Indian beans. So all our Indian products, which we market in India under our own brand, we use all Indian beans, which comes largely from Coorg, Chikmagalur, Araku. These are the primary source of coffee beans, and we buy beans from these sources and then process it, make coffee in our factories. We have got two factories in India. One is in near Vijayawada at a place called Dugirala, and one is in Tirupati district at a place called Sulurpeta. So we have got two factories where we manufacture our products and then distribute it.
But then your B2B customer doesn't say, you guys were making for me, now you're making for yourself also.
Yeah, they do. They do say, but generally, you know what, Ashish, if you see, a lot has changed in the last 20 years. So what has changed basically? Let's say 20, 25 years ago, if I have the manufacturing capability, I will market the product and the brand. Yeah. This whole third party concept has suddenly, kind of evolved to very large proportion these days. So now, even if they tell me that you are manufacturing for us and you are selling your own brand also, there are two three things which we tell them is that, see, in terms of competitive spirit, competitive, let's say, this thing that will not go out because I am anyways manufacturing for many other people. Yeah. So today, for example, let's say with the large two players, if you remove them, we are almost making coffee for everybody. So any coffee in India, there is a high likelihood that the coffee is ours. So we say that we do private label for all large chains. We do private label for Reliance. We do private label for. We used to do Big Bazaar is now Shut Shop. We do private label for Spencer's. All the D2C brands you see, which are you know creating a lot of excitement. All that product is ours only. Um, you a lot of airlines we supply to, hotels, this thing. So we are doing for a lot many people. So the competitive this thing will not index will not go down just because I will not launch my brand. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that for every client, our blend is different. We don't offer one client's blend to somebody else. So that is a strict trade secret that we maintain. That if I have made a blend for, let's say, Ashish, I will not give it to Aditya. Yeah. So,
So
and
what
vice
does it
versa.
so what does it mean blend, different blend? Like what
So
does
different blends, see, nuancically, the taste will be a little different from each other. Yeah. So, for example, I am giving a blend to you. Your blend will have more of, let's say, nutty and spicy note. Yeah. But if I'm giving a blend to Aditya, that blend could be more fruity and a woody note. So these are the nuancical differences I create. Maybe in a layman's this thing, it may not be huge, but yes, the blends are different. We don't offer one blend, common blend to everybody.
because then it will be like same product, just
Same
different name.
product, yeah. That we do in the global market. You'll be surprised to know we have 1,000 blends in our library. 1,000,
Wow.
yeah, different blends, which is one is different from others. That's the kind of R&D that we do to make sure that, because any client who comes to me, no, he would want a product which is different. He
Yes.
will himself say, "Mere ko thoda, I want a little
Like
different."
yeah.
So we make color product for them. We make sure that his product is not same to what he is wanting to compete with.
And what's your favorite blend?
So yeah, when I have to drink coffee with milk, I like our Continental Extra. I think that goes very well with milk. And yeah, when I have to drink black coffee, then I like our freeze dried coffee.
And so then what is the plan now moving forward? You're planning to launch some more flavors? I mean, coffee market is doing well. That's what I can get. Like coffee culture is picking up, tea.
Yeah,
I mean, these things are like, as you can see, these cafe, Blue Tokai, all the different Indian origin also. I mean, everybody is doing quite
yeah,
fine.
absolutely. So I'll tell you a very interesting fact, and then you'll understand the coffee trend. So if you see traditionally, and I'm talking about global market, if you see the coffee is grown in between Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, South America, parts of Africa, South India, Vietnam, Indonesia. These are the coffee growing belt, and the coffee consuming belt is above Tropic of Cancer, cold country, the more affluent countries. So America, Europe, Russia, they are the large coffee consumers. Yeah. So and that's been the tradition. You see, Americans, Europeans, they are drinking coffee all the time, and black coffee is what they drink, and they drink coffee by the gallon. Nothing compared to what we drink. Yeah. So they are always on.
And big cups.
And big cups, yeah. Morning they'll get out of home, they'll have a cup of coffee in their hands. In fact, if you see the car cup holders are designed for Americans and Europeans to hold coffee. We hold water, but
They hold
it's
coffee.
designed, yeah, वो coffee के लिए because all the time they want coffee. So they have coffee in their cars, and then when they enter office, वो coffee पीते हैं throughout the day. So they are big coffee consuming continents and nations. But as we all know that these nations are now stagnating in terms of consumption, not only for coffee, for everything, because population is stagnating, penetration पूरा हो गया है अभी और लोग, more people are not going to drink coffee. So they are stagnating. But the good part is that the emerging economies like China, India, they are next in line to drive the coffee. So if you go to China, again, China, like India, used to be a tea drinking nation. Yeah, they also are very fast converting to coffee, because as you rightly put, there's so many chains of coffee outside. You see our youngsters now, when they go out, they rather go to a coffee outlet than anything else. There's so many cafes around us. And what happens is that a decade of consumption like this, आप कॉफी पीते हो, आप बाहर जाओगे, you'll drink coffee again after 3 4 days, again you're hanging around with your friends, so the coffee starts getting onto your tongue, into your palate.
Yeah.
And then when these youngsters, they will set their homes, they will their choice of drink will be coffee. So slowly a nation will convert from tea to coffee, and
That
that's what
is
happening in China and India.
No, that's such a good example. I can relate to myself. I was a tea drinker and then became coffee drinker. So morning I have a coffee, then evening I'll have a tea. I'm
Ah,
supporting both segments.
I know. So that's how, and maybe over a period of time, when you really get used to it, then you because these are very sticky categories. एक बारी आपको जिसको कहते हैं ना आदत लग गई. So when you get used to it, then you
You
feel
need
like
more
having
coffee.
it. Yeah, and you feel like having it. यार चलो पीते हैं पीते हैं. And again, see, a lot of these categories, they start as socializing. Yeah. So let's say you want to go out with a friend. You'll say, "Chalo, coffee pite." That's the automatic answer. Yeah, coffee pite. Or you want to call somebody at some place to meet or something. You'll
Coffee
call
pina.
them to a cafe or something. तो आप कॉफी पीने लगोगे तो कॉफी पीते पीते क्या होगा यू विल गेट यूज टू इट वंस यू गेट यूज टू इट देन द कंजम्पशन so that's a good news for the coffee market because two large countries which are probably going to drive consumption for many categories in the decades to come because next 3-4 decades they say that these two countries are going to drive the consumption, China and India, and coffee culture is catching up very fast. तो क्या होगा यहाँ पे लोग कॉफी पियेंगे. So that's how the coffee trend is. So going forward for us also, it makes a lot of sense to keep driving this culture. So therefore in India we are driving a lot of coffee ecosystems. As I was mentioning you, a lot of coffee brands we supply coffee to. Private label हम कर रहे हैं. We are also working with these chains also. You'll be surprised to know with chains like Blue Tokai, with Third Wave. So at the back end, we keep doing a lot of experiments for them, creating some great flavors, great blends for them. So we keep doing this. So our motto is that how do we drive more and more coffee consumption in India? Yeah. We really are not in so much in a hurry to say that I want to gain a lot of market share. Yes, we are doing that as well. But that's been our, the big motto that let us drive this culture. So how can I drive this culture is by doing this. So in fact, even things like cold coffee. So a lot of cold coffee makers, they buy coffee from us. Yeah. You got these choco pies, you got these coffee candies. So they all buy coffee from us. Yeah. So our thing is to how do we kind of I promote as much as coffee culture. So we kind of service all of this and do a lot of R&D for them. So for whether it is a chocolate guy, a cake guy, a choco pie guy, or a cold coffee guy, I'm doing a lot of experiment for them also. That how do I drive more and more coffee consumption? That's our motto. Because if coffee grows, we will automatically.
But I think now you don't need to derive it. It's on autopilot mode.
Yeah, it's not on autopilot mode. Yeah, we keep getting a lot of queries. Can you make something for us? Can you make something else? So that's like, for example, you heard of this coffee candy called Copico. So they're the largest coffee candy, and they get coffee from us. So now all the other candy guys are, "Arey, what coffee have you given to them? Or maybe acha candy ek chahiye. Okay, fine, we will make it for you. We'll give good blends for you." So that, as you rightly said, एक बारी आ गया तो वो autopilot mode में. So we are now
And
keep getting queries.
it is also a lot of caffeine is in energy drinks also. So is that a segment you also
No, we
provide
don't do
energy
because
drink?
that is ना caffeine extract को लेके फिर वो डालते हैं.
That's a separate process.
That's separate process. So that's something that we don't do right now. But yeah, otherwise any coffee requirement we end up.
So then what is the like one thing is then very clearly established. Market तो बहुत बड़ी है.
Hmm.
Trend भी है. You're in the space at the right time, right place. What is the biggest challenge?
See, I'll tell you the biggest challenge is more on the, and this challenge has emerged in the last 3-4 years, is more on the supply side. Yeah. So coffee is a very, in some ways, it is quite sensitive crop as well. So, and just like a lot of other agricultural crops, this also is quite sensitive. And you know how climatic changes are, you know, driving supply chain challenges. That's a little challenging points because क्या हो रहा है कि I don't know whether you are aware, last 2-3 years the coffee prices has been on the boil and cocoa prices as well. So वो काफी ऊपर है and it's not like a, so the coffee plantation actually takes 3.5 years or 4 years to mature. If I put a plant today, after 3.5-4 years, it will start giving flowers and then the berries, cherries. So it's not like the farmers are also not to this thing to keen to plant because gestation period बहुत high है. So acreage increases. It's not like a rice or a paddy or a wheat. You sow today and 6 months down the line you can harvest. So the time periods are short. So therefore farmers can do that. But here there is a challenge. So unless until there is a lot of government support and support in form of other things, the farmers will also be reluctant to wait for 3-4 years. So therefore there is a supply challenge that comes in, and also because coffee is grown in these parts and consumed in, I told you, those parts. So last 2-3 years there has also been a lot of logistics challenge in terms of supply because of there have
COVID
been
and all.
uh, Red Sea issue है कभी
Oh,
But yeah, on the back end, these challenges remain.
So what has been I mean, the rise in the price of cocoa and coffee, whatever, it has then passed on to consumer, right? So it's any point in time, will it be like reducing or it will keep pushing higher?
So these are unheard of prices. We all in the fraternity we have been thinking that yes, it will reduce.
What is the price, for example?
So let's say in international market today, the price is ranging between $4,400 per ton to $5,500 per ton. That's pretty high. Come to think of it, 4 years ago, it used to be 1,800 to 2,000, and 5, 6 years ago, it used to be 1,800 to 2,000. So it's almost tripled in or doubled in last 3, 4 years, and used to be 1,500, let's say 5, 6 years ago. So there has been quite a steep jump. And coffee, again, one more interesting fact. In terms of value, it is the second most traded commodity after oil.
Really? Wow.
So that also brings in a lot of interest with
Traders.
on the trading people, the fund houses. So there's a lot of speculation also that builds in. एक बारी क्या होता है ना price चढ़ने लगता है, then people start speculating, betting on coffee and holding coffee. An interesting thing is coffee farmers are one set of farmers who are rich. Unlike other farmers who are poor, coffee farmers are generally rich. So they have these holding capacities. They can hold for some time. They can hold their stock for 1 year. So that also adds to the whole supply chain pressures and all that. So yes, there are certain structural problems. There are certain speculative problems. So all of it combined creates a heady decoction of uncertainty.
That's a very nice way to put it, heady decoction. And I never knew like coffee is the second most traded. It's the second black oil sort of
Yeah,
thing.
second black oil. Yeah, absolutely. Second black liquid that keeps all of us on our toes.
Keeps us awake. Many
Yeah,
puns
keeps
can
us
be
awake.
created out of this, I think. Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So then sort of moving on. So do you guys export also?
Yeah,
You
what?
mentioned a lot.
90% is export only.
And there will be similar players like you who are in this business of buying and have that established.
Yeah.
So how do you then differentiate yourself like in this such a competitive space?
So there are 2, 3 things which help you differentiate. One is the product itself that plays a key role. Yeah. So as I was mentioning no earlier, this is suppose given a product to you. Let's say I've given a product to you which is a very different blend. I've made it for you. It's not very easy to replicate those. Yeah, it's like saying that I'm just giving a very a little quirky example. But let's say if I were to let's say a butter chicken of Gulati, difficult to replicate. No?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you make it with certain because it's an food is a lot about science, but a lot about art as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you may have the recipe. So it's like I always say, Sanjeev Kapoor can give you the recipe, but yeah, still you will not be able to cook like him. Yeah.
yeah. It won't
Because
taste.
there are a lot of nuances that go into it. Yeah. So it's just not the coffee, the recipe, the blend. It's about how you have roasted it, how you have extracted it, how you have spray dried it. Every bit plays a role. Yeah. So that is why I said we do a lot of R&D. Yeah. And that is the reason we have got 1,000 blends. So let's say I've given a blend to a brand. Yeah. Now that brand has been selling well. Now that brand will very easily will not want to shift its supplier because that blend has been stuck with the consumers. The consumers have started liking the brand. Any changes will harm their brand reputation and may dent their sales. So there is a lot of stickiness when you build clients, and some of our clients are there with us for the last 20, 25 years, but right from day one they have been buying coffee from us. So there is this kind of sense of stickiness that builds in over a period of time. So that is because of the blends that you do, the R&D that you do, the products that you create. So that's one thing that helps us be competitive in the market. And second is, of course, in terms of capacity, we probably are now world's top two, top three private label suppliers. Yeah. So we also have a lot of scale. So today we have almost 75 to 77,000 metric tons capacity, which means that there is a lot of scale built in purchases, in operations, and therefore we also are very rate competitive. Therefore, it's not that easy for anybody to beat our rates. Yeah, so that's the second thing, and the third thing is we have our marketing setup which has people on the ground. We exactly know what is happening, who requires what kind of trends are emerging in each of the markets. So that also helps us to be ahead of the curve, to be talking to our clients in that much more engaging manner. So we don't talk to clients just on this thing. Give me a price. I'll give them a price and they buy. Yes, that is part of the business. But apart from that, we also try and understand: is there anything new that you want to launch in the market? Is there anything new that I can develop for you? We try and create a lot of or adopt a lot of technologies which are ahead of time. So in fact, just to give you an example, in India, we were the first one to set up a freeze dried plant. Yeah, even our large competitors, some of them don't have it till date, but we were the first one back in 2006-7. We set up, just because we could sense that there is an emerging opportunity, this category will do well, and we set up there. And we started working with our clients. Said, I'm setting up a freeze dried plant, would you like to launch it in your market? Some of them said yes. We created a blend for them. So it creates a lot. So it's just not a transactional relationship. It's quite deep rooted in terms of, starts from product development, understanding their market, giving them the product profile they want. So all of this combined together, ability to develop the product, ability to have that kind of a scale, have our eyes and ears on the ground. And also, we have factories in India, Vietnam. Geographically, we are very well placed and balanced, to make sure that we cater, or we can cater to different parts of the world. All of them put together, gives us a certain edge in the market to be competitive against our.
Can sense you're a busy man then. So this commodity, do you guys also store it? Like, for example, because if you can estimate next year we'll be consuming this much amount of beans in this category, do you store it? Or is it possible to store it? I don't know.
Really store it, because of the volatility. We generally do back to back purchases. So suppose I finalize a deal today. So I will finalize the deal today on today's coffee price, and I'll buy that coffee today itself. So while we end up storing some coffee, because we have to keep at any point of time the factory keeps running. It's a 24/7 factory, so we keep running. So there will be 2-3 months of coffee that will always be there for with us. But yeah, our buying is back to back. So we don't future buy. We don't buy and keep it in anticipation that I'll get business. Yeah, because that could lead to problems. Let's say I buy coffee today at $5,000, yeah, and tomorrow, God forbid, the prices were to come down, then I'll become non-competitive, yeah, and I'll end up having losses. Vice versa, I also don't want to speculate wherein I buy coffee. Yes, the coffee prices are going up. It may be beneficial for me in the short run, but when the prices will drop, it is non-beneficial. So I don't do that kind of a business.
Then this fluctuation is not visible at consumer end.
Is not visible because there is a chain wherein you probably kind of absorb. And see, actually last 2 years has been a little more volatile than it has ever been. So I don't know whether you've tracked or not. 2 years से बहुत prices hike भी हुए हैं last consumer segment. Now we'll wait and watch. Once the prices come down, we'll wait and watch if the brands reduce prices. But yeah, see, at the consumer end, people would want to kind of, at every value chain, there will be some absorption. So the end consumer pass on will not be as high as the commodity itself, because brands are also wary that इतना price बढ़ा देंगे तो कहीं consumption shouldn't drop. So थोड़ा सा absorb भी.
का कैसे drop होगा? I mean, if someone needs a coffee, he will get it. He or she.
In fact, very funnily, a lot of people used to ask, 2 years ago, Russia-Ukraine war started, and then Israel war started. Russia is a significant market for us. So people are saying, here, coffee, did your coffee supplies got hit and all that. So interestingly, for 1 month or so, when there is a supply chain disruption, because when the war started, people didn't know how the shipment will go and all that. But apart from that, we didn't see any drop. In fact, sometimes we feel that in stressful conditions, people would end up
Actually.
drinking more coffee.
So is this an indicator? These are stressful times.
These are stressful times. So we think that अच्छा coffee तो पी रहे होंगे लोग. मतलब I don't think so. Consumption will get hampered. Even in terms of recession, 2007-8 में recession आया था US वगैरह में. But one thing we didn't see, a lot of discretionary spend stopped. People stopped buying new cars, new TV and all that. But coffee we didn't see, thankfully. Because you may want to cut some of your discretionary spend. You may not want to go out and have a dinner or expensive this thing or not buy expensive car or something like that. But subah sham ki coffee, that is the
Then, this redefines your competitor. Your competitor is stability.
fun. Correct. In that sense, yes. So the more stable people are, people will not drink coffee. The
Yeah.
more but I think as we are moving along, I don't think the stresses are coming down. It's increasing now.
It will increase only.
Stress of work, stress of social media, stress of wars.
Social media is a big contributing factor then, wo
Big
to.
contributing factor. No? Coffee being okay, let me grab one cup of coffee. And it's a legitimate stress buster. Unlike let's say a cigarette or an alcohol, which is an sort of an illegitimate stress buster. Coffee is a legitimate stuff. Right? अब coffee तो पी सकते हो. So I think
Exactly.
that's good for the category. And a lot of reports have started now trickling in, wherein they say that coffee taken in moderation is beneficial for health as well, especially black coffee.
Wo to could be, I mean, is it trustable to trust these
Quite
papers?
trustable.
It's
Quite
like
trustable. Quite trustable because coffee has a lot of antioxidant properties and all that. Because ultimately, it's a fruit, no? It's a cherry. It's a cherry from which you take out seeds and then you roast and drink. So there are a lot of other properties as well. So I think pretty much. But yeah, I mean, the other way to look at it is, and I tell this is that anything in moderation is good. Anything in excess is bad. So that way, but yeah, generally the perception used to be that coffee अच्छी नहीं होगी. But that perception is fast changing. I remember in our childhood days, we both for tea and coffee, our parents used to say that don't drink it; it's not good. Only when you're an adult you can have it.
I think very interesting conversation. To wrap it up, my one final question will be, Praveen, in terms of if you were to do anything differently in last 7 years in this journey as a CEO, anything if given that opportunity and power, or there is this special coffee, if you drink it, you can go back in time and do things differently. What will that be?
Interesting question. It's easy in the hindsight because in the hindsight things become clearer and you could think that this could be different. So yeah, so now that when we started with a lot of apprehension, and I'll tell you why. Because brand building is not an easy thing. Business building is not an easy thing. I come from an FMCG background. We know that the failure rate is very, very high. The success rate is very small. So we started with that apprehension that we didn't know when we started that how successful we will be. Yeah, we were confident, but yes, that apprehension at the back of your head was there that maybe it may not be successful. Then what? So with that thing in mind, we were very calibrated in our approach. So we did not go the multinational way or the big company way that you launch with a blast, big bang, spend a lot of money. And so we are very, very, very cautious. And, very, very shoestring budget set. Rupya bhi we used to think 10 times. Should we spend it or not? Should we spend it or not? So we went very calibrated, very, very slow, steady, very sustainable. Brick by brick. एक brick लगाया, फिर खर्चा किया, फिर दूसरा brick लगाया. It was like, constructing a house. एक एक room एक.
पहला फ्लोर बना
हाँ, एक floor बनाया, एक room
सिर्फ
So that's something that probably, and this is with the benefit of hindsight. If you take me back without this benefit of hindsight, I would do the same thing. It's only with the benefit of hindsight that I'm saying. So, but if you take me back 7 years again, say that would you have done anything different? Not at all. I would have done exactly the way we have.
wonderful, wonderful. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Praveen. It was such a um, refreshing conversation, and this space, the way you help us understood how the market is shaping up and driving. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time. Anything you would like to share, which I may have missed?
Not really. I think we covered most of it. I would say happy festivities to all of you. Drink more coffee. It's good for you, good for us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.